All right, thank you everyone. This is Jin Young Samsung from XJTLU in China. I'm very happy to be on here, and I'm actually met Sophia years ago, and happy to reconnect here. All right, today I'd like to share one observation from my EAP classrooms. Not that students don't use AI, but that they often don't know how to interact with AI meaningfully. So this is where the title of this talk comes from. And one student don't know what to ask AI, they tend to use it only to finish tasks rather than to support learning. So this is something many of us here may already recognize. Students paste, they copy and paste in a prompt and they take the output and they move on. So this talk is less about tools. I'm not going to talk about why I'm using AI agent rather than generative AI. It's more about the interaction, how we can teach students to work with AI as a learning partner. So this work comes from an EAP module at Xi'an Liverpool University or XJTLU. That's correct. So XJTLU is one of the earliest transnational higher education universities here in China, and Xipu AI. So here we we have the in-house AI platform. So Xipu AI has been officially launched since September of 2023 at the institutional level, and that is now widely adopted by both staff and the students. However, my classroom observations actually reviewed a concerning and recurring pattern. Students were not struggling with access to AI. Everyone here at XJTLU, they have access to Xipu AI. They can even choose the large language models. They can choose to use ChatGPT, Gemini. They can use DeepSeek or whatever they like here. But with how they were using it. So they have access, but they kind of feel they don't know what to ask or they don't know how to work with AI. For example, some students used AI to fix language errors without evidence that learning was being transferred to future writing. And more importantly, they rarely asked some process-oriented questions or other examples here on the screen. So the issue wasn't access or motivation, but lack of interactional literacy with AI. All right. Okay, so I began to reframe the issue as a pedagogical gap rather than a technical issue or access or motivation here at my university. In most cases, students were being asked or invited to use AI, but were not being taught how to work with AI or how to challenge AI responses. So in other words, as you can see here on the screen, AI was positioned as an answer machine, not as part of a learning dialogue or learning process. This aligns with what we see in collaborative learning research. Simply putting those learners or students into groups doesn't guarantee meaningful collaboration or interaction. So I asked the question, what if AI interaction also needs to be explicitly taught as a collaborative practice? To address the issue, I designed an AI agent whose role was not to give answers, but to model how to work with other AI tools or other AI agents. A little bit about the context or background here. So, especially here at Global Culture and Languages Hub, lots of colleagues they're keen on working on developing on AI agents or other generative AI tools. They like to share, they like to collaborate with other colleagues. So we have quite a lot of agents available for students now. They can practice their speaking, they can check their feedback with those AI agents. But here in my classroom, in my cases, the agent prompted students to ask reflective, comparative, or evaluative question. I'm going to show you two screenshots here on the screen. For example, here, as you can see on the screen, here is one of the screenshots from the chat history. So I did ask the question, what you can help me as a student here with this agent? And the agent answered with the responses here on the screen. For example, the core role, a boundary, it is not a tool for you to or to help you complete assignment or coursework that could blah blah blah. And if you ask for that, I will or the agent will redirect you to learning focused support. And in other cases, the administrative or well-being support. The other screenshot here, a typical interaction can look like here. The student bring a study or planning question. They can ask any question. They can even ask, how can I use this agent? The agent guides you through a focused dialogue rather than a long and focused chat, helping you clarify goals or evidence. And then the student will finish with a concrete checklist. That's your choice. You don't have to go with a checklist or plan, but you can keep going with the conversation or dialogue. And want to try with a quick start, they provide option A, planning, option B, practice task. They can move on with other conversations here. So in other cases, for example, instead of saying here is a better paragraph, if the students ask, okay, can you give me a paragraph on something? The agent would ask, what do you think this paragraph is trying to argue? Or which part of the AI agent response do you find least convincing? Let's move on to classroom integration. The agent is embedded into classroom academic activities. Students work with multiple AI tools or agents. As mentioned, they have multiple available tools there on learning more. So here is the I actually tell you versions Moodle here at my institution. And the agent will help scaffold how the students interact with those tools or those other agents. All right. At this stage, I'm not working to, or I'm not making claims about effectiveness. What I'm really interested in is what begins to change in how students relate to AI. What I hope to observe is increased students' engagement and more purposeful interaction with AI, particularly a shift from asking for answers to asking analytical, reflective questions. I'm also looking for signs that students become more willing to question, evaluate, or even push back against AI-generated responses rather than treating them as automatically correct. All right, okay, one last page. So, the key takeaway is very simple, just one sentence. If students don't know what to ask AI, there's something we can teach. All right, I think time is up. Thank you very much for everyone. I'd be very happy to discuss this further. I'll stop here. Thank you.